That's why it shut down on me. So sorry about that, guys. Okay, so we've got this 2156. We want it split. We want to do it with heat because we can't do it with the clamp style splitter. And yeah, and the downside of doing it with heat, although it's very doable, the downside of doing it with heat is that unfortunately the bearings are going to stay on the shaft. So we need a bearing puller to pull them off, which I do have, but it's an extra step. If you use the clamp style splitter, then usually the bearings stay in the cases, and then you just heat the cases later and tap the bearings out, so you don't actually need a bearing puller. So 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, whatever. I'll bring you up here. We can see what's up. And obviously I got to get this done before my phone shuts down again. So, yeah. Fire! 266, 319, 307, almost. How's it going, Harry? Coming apart yet? I much prefer the clamp style to do this, but since we got stuffers, there you go. Okay, hang on. The positioning pins will grab it. There you go. There's one. Side. Positioning pin. Don't lose the positioning pins. Somewhere north of 300. Ta-da! Okay. Cases can go over there and cool down. So with the crank, now I gotta get my bearing puller. Okay, bearing puller. So if you guys don't have the Harbor Freight bearing puller kit, it's pretty doggone useful. And you guys have seen me use this before, so this is nothing new. Hey, Bob. Okay. Now let's see here. This is probably kind of hot. That's about normal. So ideally, I'd like to put this in the vise. What you do is you got to grab the bearing with the puller. That's a pretty good grab, actually. This is probably still a little bit warm. It might be actually a little easier to pull. Let's see. That's the setup. That's that. Now the bearing's just going to come right off the shaft here. Make life easy. Come on. Again, same idea here. Nice here, you can just get under the bearing. On this particular side, there's a little more room to make sure the jaws get underneath the bearing. Grandchamp. Yeah, I got all the fire things up and going all the time. Kind of a pain in the neck, but every once in a while. So actually, Bob, if you didn't know, the fire thing is important to me. My parents' house burned to the ground in 1983. I was little, but that did happen. Why is that having a hard time coming off there? There we go. So, yeah, that type of thing is important to me. The black is a ripper. Of course it is. Of course it's a ripper. I had to knock that out of the park. I knew that. Yeah, I'm sure it's a lot of fun. Always nice to have a super ultra custom piece, you know? Okay, so now we've got. Let's see, is it still hot? Still a little warm. I think. I think the heat definitely does help. Um, because it's still a little bit warm. It was easier to pull the bearings off than it would have been, but they're carboned up. I mean, they're not terrible, but there's really no harm in replacing them. You know, just replace them. Hey, Earl. Yeah, always messing around. You know. What I got to do is I got to go clean this crank up, make sure it's clean, and then I'm gonna put it. I'm just gonna put it in a plastic baggie and some WD-40, make sure it's completely clean and ready to go for whenever the rebuild happens, if it happens. Um, but I'm just gonna get everything here cleaned up and make sure that it's ready to go back together if and when Tracy decides to go for that. I think for right now, I've already been contacted by a guy that wants to buy it, but uh, at this point, um, I think we're just gonna sit on the parts for now and maybe use it for parts in the future. So I think that's what's gonna happen. Yeah. So not too much to do today. I'm off, but I'm hanging out at the house here. Never forget how affects. Yeah, it does. Having a fire is a scary thing. Scary thing. And I was little when it happened. Although I do remember the water in the basement. I remember because there's like a foot of water, and I was little, and trudging around in it. The fire company had come and they had put put lines all the way down to like the pond down the street or something like that, and sucked out the pond to get the fire under control. But it was basically a total loss. So, well, that was at my folks' house, 1983. But it's rebuilt. So, and that was the house I grew up in. Wish he would mention the top cover. Yeah, well, he didn't. That was the kind of the whole point of everything. So, yeah, a little disappointing. At least he ran it. So just to reiterate for everybody, I mean, about the covers, that was kind of the whole point of everything. Um, is that you know the covers are important, but they're also way more important than I can describe, and it's because right now we've got the Chinese about to take over with all these parts, and I appreciate having Chinese parts because they're filling a niche, and frankly that's Steel and Husqvarna's fault for leaving that open. Steel and Husky really aren't in the parts business; they just want to sell new saws. You know, Steel and Husky just want to sell new saws, so they left it wide open for the Chinese to come in and undercut things um, by a lot. For certain stuff. So if you get a cylinder head for $30 versus 200 or 300 or whatever, it's like a factor of 10. How is that not tempting? Good or bad or whatever, it doesn't even matter what the quality is. It's just still dang tempting, right? Mixed mowers. Yeah, having a go of it. um, so yeah, so anyway, the issue is that Pharmatech is coming out with a 288 next month, supposedly, and I believe they're doing high tops, which sucks for me because I just brought these high tops to the market. Now, I don't think they're doing a drop a tree on it warranty with their tops, but still, they're doing tops, which means that I no longer have the corner on the market. Um, and that's just bad timing for me, maybe a bad decision, whatever. If, on the other hand, you know, the upside would be if I get support and we sell more tops and I can get rid of all these tops, then I can go on to the next project, which is 266 tops, and, you know, maintain stuff. Just want to be loved. Yeah, kind of, you know. Um, but I can start making other products, which I think is really nifty. I just can't get beyond this one, you know. So the idea of sending a saw to Buchan was that, you know, not just he'd think the saw was cool, because that's great. I mean, I knew I had to make a cool saw for him, but um, but that we could get the word out on the tops, and eventually, kind of, you know, the Chinese are this huge conglomerate thing, you know, that are producing all kinds of stuff, but they may not want to produce certain things, stuff that's going to be way too low volume for them to even touch. And that's where I come in, is that I have the guy that can do it. So if I get support for the tops, then that's great, you know, and I can keep going. And we can keep some of the vintage saws going. And my thought was that, geez, you know, if there's anybody out there that runs vintage saws, you know, fairly regular and has you know, a YouTube following, it's Buchan. So why not send something to him and see if he likes it and gives it some airtime. And it looks like he kind of missed the point. That's what I, you know, and I guess my bad on that, but that's just disappointing, and that's where I'm at. So. Questions, comments, anything otherwise? I had a comment on the video. Let's see. I had a comment. I got rid of it. Yeah, I had a comment earlier about saying that they, you know, somebody was just like, I just don't get it, you know. Okay, well, the thing is, the 288s are huge. I mean, the number of them that has been produced over the years is enormous, and they're still being made. So there are a select few people that want high tops. So I fill a niche. And Kelly Settler Saws just commented too. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, the tools have been good. Speaking of which, I actually have one that I gotta pack up here. I think. I gotta pack a toolkit up for somebody. Thank you for reminding me. And I am running low, so I gotta get in touch with my guy to get me more stuff here. Had a guy buy a 660 standalone kit. I don't really like selling the standalone kits because it's just a single rod and they end up being really redundant. Because at some point, you know, most folks go, oh crap, I got to build another saw, and then they're like, oh shoot, I only have this one rod. Much better if you're building saws, better to have a main kit, I think. Then you really are pretty well covered. But this is what folks want. This is what folks get. So, other questions, comments? No future parts without support. Yep. That's pretty much it. I'd like to do future parts. I can't forward the money. The last round about killed me. So. Well, anyway, I think. Oh, Josh Baker. Hey, what are you working on? I was just working on a 2156. I was just taking the crank out of it. You can go back and look at that and see how we did. Plastic tabby thing. Yeah, not much else to work on here. I know, Earl. Everybody likes the kit, Earl. Everybody likes that kit. It really has done well for people, I think. Yeah, 250. I don't like the 250s. I don't like them. I'm not sure the saw is worth a rebuild. 260 is different, but that's just me, Josh. So I'm going to shove off here. I'll call it a day. Thanks, guys. Do appreciate it. Appreciate you hanging out. And thanks, Bob, for throwing up some links here. If anybody wants top covers, they can go to masschainsawparts.com or click on the link for HL Supply. If you need parts from them, if you use my link, then I get some credit for it, and that's appreciated. You can also